Hello folks, welcome back to another My Clouds fanfic video. So we're going on for the chapter 6. Okay? We're on to another chapter and it's called we're on to chapter 6. So unfortunately, this is going to be the longest chapter. And this entirely is about how they met before, how they know each other, how they were falling in love, and how he lost his memory. And it's the longest chapter of this whole fic. 21,000 words, and there are 20 parts. So I want to make this into it's gonna be 2 videos. So we'll have part 1 of chapter 6, and then I'm probably gonna do, and then you're gonna have part 2. So yeah, we'll have 2 videos. So you have this video and the next video, which will cover the chapter 6. You're in for a long ride now, so it's gonna be a lot because there are 20 parts of it, and I don't think we're gonna finish it. I'm just going to make sure there are 20 because I will split that into 10. Okay? Yep, there are 20 parts on this in this chapter, so we have to split this into 2. Okay? So there are 20 parts total, so we're going to split this into 2. So we'll have 10 parts. As of this video, this is going to be part 1, and then the other 10 will be part 2. So, alright, let's get started with the part 1 of... So, it's going to take us a while, so let's do this. Okay, let's do chapter 6 of Love Me Twice, Save Me Thrice, part 1. Chapter 6, Never Save Their Life. When he's 13, Keith meets Lance for the first time. Some might say it was a twist of fate, pre-redesigned and prophesized, but Keith doesn't believe in those things, not one bit. He refuses. So whether it's some fae or druid babbling about the big complicated woven web of fate, or some of the old church ladies at his dad's funeral telling him that it's all according to God's plan, he doesn't care. He purses his lips and glares and tells them they're full of ish before walking away, leaving them gasping that mere child would talk to them in such a way. Believing in destiny has a lot of implications that he doesn't like. Believing in destiny means that from the moment he was born, he was destined to be alone, was meant to be alone, that he was only ever meant to have a limited time with his parents. He has always meant to the foster home shuffle and fated to be alone, that his mom was never meant to stay with them, that his father was always meant to die in a burning building. So yeah, he doesn't believe in fate. It's a bunch of horse. And yeah, he's gonna say it. He may just be 13, but he's lost both his parents, so what anyone has to say in the matter. Frick. That's a good one too. He likes the expressions adults make when he uses it. So when he meets Lance, it's an accident, a coincidence. Nothing more and nothing less. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The right place at the right time? He wasn't about that one at a time. He doesn't become sure of it for a while. He's out on one of his long walks. He takes them Billy. For the moment he gets home from school until it gets dark. His foster family lives near the woods, giving him a good place to escape. They're kind enough, he thinks, but their house is busy. There are several kids beside him, and they're all louder. Better at school, better at being rebellious, any of things and vocal about it. He fades easily into the background, and he's okay with that. So he gets out of the house as often as he can, taking to the woods and long walks, slipping back into the house for dinner without any of them realizing that he's been gone. He likes it this way. He's not used to loud voices in busy homes. Growing up, it had just been him and his dad, and they always lived far from others. He never knew what it was like to have neighbors, but always knew what it was like to have the expanse of wilderness at his backyard. It was peaceful, quiet. He liked it, misses it. His dad always told him that cities and towns were full of fae looking for prey on humans, and most forest fae keep to themselves. It was safer this way. Because he had second sight, a gift from Keith's mother, and Keith was an Ironblood. If the fae knew about them, they'd be in danger. He learned this from a young age. He doesn't remember a time when he didn't know it. His father made him learn the laws of Fae early on, made him memorize the ways to stay safe. Unfortunately, in the end, those rules couldn't save him when Fae collapsed that burning building, and now Keith is alone. When he's in the forest, however, being alone doesn't feel so terrible. Something about it is just welcoming. Fills him with a sense of peace that the city can't. He doesn't know if that's his Fae blood or his upbringing. Figures it doesn't really matter. He's only lived with this new foster family for a few months, but he's already mapped out the entire area around them. He knows the forest paths. He knows the abandoned farms. He knows the empty, overrun houses. He knows the ponds and streams. He knows all the best places to catch frogs and find berries. So when he's walking one late afternoon, putting off going home despite the deep orange hue the setting sun casts through the trees, and he hears the groaning crash and sickening snap of metal, he knows exactly where it's coming from. He jumps, head snapping in that direction, heart hammering as the echo from that terrible crumbling sound echoes in his ears. He doesn't know how to describe it, but he recognizes it. A building collapsing. An old one. If you add the roar of flames, it's no different than collapse he's watched on the news dozens of times the day his father died. His feet are moving before he understands what he's doing. There's a building nearby, a gutted and empty one, scarred with an old fire and left to rust in the years to follow. He knows exactly where it is. Having explored it only a few weeks before, he races through the undergrowth, pushing aside tree branches and ignoring the thorns that catch at his clothes. And then he sees it, comes to a stop at a tree line, one hand against the trunk for support as he catches his breath. The building is through his collapse. 2 floors crash down to earth. Dust still wraps in a heavy cloud in the air. Then he hears the voices. Lotor! Please! A shiver runs down Keith's spine, a cold spike of dread. There's a desperation in that voice that twists his stomach. He tastes bile on the back of his tongue. He feels the panic as if it were his own. It's followed by coughing, a voice that's rough and choke. I can't breathe. That would no doubt be the rust in the air, kicked up by the collapse. Chilling calm, casual and easy, an air of superiority, hollow and void of emotion. Keith's panic solidifies into dread. He's heard voices like that before. Fae voices. He can't even see the Fae yet, but he can't hear it in his voice. His body reacts to it all the same. He knows. Flakes of airborne iron. They fill your lungs with every inhale. It must be excruciating. Lotor! A cracked cough. A wheezing. I'm stuck. I can't help you, of course. For a price. A price? Now, dear Lance. Don't sound so incredulous. You know that everything we do is for a price. It is in our very nature. Every gracious action must be repaid. You brought me here. I did, and I cannot say that I wasn't hoping for and expecting this outcome. You see, there's something I need from you, Lance, and this was the only conceivable way to convince you to give it to me. What? More coughing, a strangled groan. I really don't want to leave you here. You are, after all, Alora's favorite, and she would be so sad if you were gone. However, you are on my way, and I need assurances. I will pull you from this wreckage for a favor. No. The voice is hoarse and crooked, but dripping in by anger, cutting through venom. Your name, then. Never! Step down as a little suitor and agree to never court her again. No! Then we have no deal, and I have no business here. Lotor, you can't! You can't just leave me here! I can, and I will. The deal is still on the table. Never! Then there's nothing I can do. On some level, I do hope you can manage to escape. And that this will only serve as a warning. I do hope you understand that this is nothing personal. Merely business. Merely our nature. This is your first taste of court life, and you will find not all will be as gentle about it as I am. Good luck, Lance. I hope one day we can see eye to eye. As the figure moves away from the building, Keith ducks behind the tree, peering around the edge. Despite being the moral realm, The Fae doesn't bother the weird and glamour. Either he's certain no morals will be around, or his confidence has become arrogance. He's tall with broad shoulders and narrow waist. His arms are just a little too long to be human. Long white hair falls flawlessly down his back, and his ears are long and pointed. From what Keith can see from his skin, it's purple. He stands tall and proud, hands clasped loosely behind him as he strolls away with measured steps. He never once looks back, despite the otter's pitiful and broken cries for help. Something in Keith's chest snaps, defenses and caution worn away by the sounds of a boy dying. It's primal raw, desperate, and scared. For a brief, visceral moment, Keith imagines his dad, trapped beneath rubble and surrounded by flames, and his decision is made. As soon as the Fae is out of sight, Keith is running, sprinting as fast as his legs can carry him toward the glass building. He climbs up broken pieces of wood and rock and metal, waving a hand in front of his face to clear some of the dust. He can hear the boy's cries peter out into broken sobs and pained groans. "Hello?" he calls, coughing as he inhales the dust. "Hey, where are you?" There's a pause, and then a new found urgency and brimming with hope. The voice goes, "Here! Over here! Please hurry!" Keith stumbles through the rubble, clambering through the wreckage. He doesn't care that his clothes are become messy and torn. He doesn't care that he'll have splinters and cuts when he gets home. All think of was a boy trapped and scared for his life. Keith finds him trapped in the center of the building, surrounded by wooden planks and twisted metal skeleton that was holding the building up. He's covered in dirt and dust, half hidden by long dark shadows that creep in with the setting sun. "Help! Who is this?" as Keith hears. "Please!" He's thrown into cover. "I can't. The air. It burns." The conversation he's overheard should have been his first clue. This should have been his second. His third should have been the way the boy's skin glimmered and shone like crystal diamonds when it caught the light. But none of those clues sunk in. All he could feel was overwhelming panic and fear and determination that burned like wildfire in his veins. He hadn't been there to save his dad, but he's here, now, and he can save this boy. It takes a joint effort to pull him from the rubble, despite being an iron-blood. He's still young and his body is weak. He has more of an affinity for fire than physical strength. Still, between the two of them, Keith is able to clear some of the wreckage and use pieces as leverage to lift the brunt of the weight, just enough to allow the boy to wriggle free. He collapses to the ground, eyes squeezed shut and face twisted in pain as he pants. He rushes to him, glancing warily at the rubble as it shifts and groans. The whole building hasn't calmed down, just the center of it, but they need to get out before it does. Pulling the boy's arm around his shoulders and wrapping his own around his waist, practically drags him from the wreckage. He leans heavily into Keith's side, breath rag and hoarse and wet. It doesn't sound good, but at least he's breathing. At least he's free. Keith doesn't stop until they reach the trees. He helps the boy sit, back pressed up against a thick trunk, and then he drops down to a crouch, elbows resting on his knees, as he catches his own breath. It's only then, as he's coming down from his adrenaline high, mingling with the endorphins of success and relief, that Keith notices the thin sheen on his skin, notices the thicker glow of diamond white on the crest of his cheekbones, notices the way his hair shimmers and his ears practically shine, notices the angry red blistering burns on his skin where his clothes are torn, where the iron of the building's crumpled structure had him pinned. Remembers how that Fae had talked about a cord and rusting burning his lungs and making deals. Then the boy opened his eyes, and Keith's breath is punched from his lungs. His eyes, they're blue. They're so much more than that. They swirl and shift, like the twisting facet of a gemstone in the light, like the swirling depths of the ocean, waves crashing and churning. He has never seen eyes like that. They're terrifying. They're beautiful. Phew. The boy wheezes. Each breath is labored, but he's breathing. His lips are shaking, but they pull into a quivering smile. He stares at Keith with far too much awe, perhaps far too much fear. "You saved me. Who are you?" Keith asks out of habit more than anything else. He already knows. Fae alarms are sounding in his head, heart hammering and ears ringing. The heat of his magic prickles beneath his skin, shifting restlessly under his flesh. Warning, screaming, run. The boy smirks, and how he manages to look like that despite clearly being in pain, Keith doesn't know. You can call me Lance. His smirk falls as he's thrown into a violent coughing fit. When it subsides, it takes a moment to look Keith over, taking slow, measured breaths. The cockiness is gone, replaced by something worried. And you saved my life. Something about it that way, he says, that makes the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. He pushes himself to his feet, stumbling back several steps. Oh, I didn't, he says, throwing his hands up and shaking his head. You did. Hey, Lance, his eyes harden. Lips bursting into a thin line. I owe you a debt. No, Keith snaps. Eyes running his Lance side. I mean, his arm falls to his sides, curled into fist. He's too stiff, shoulders hiked up to his ear, and arms far too straight. Don't worry about it. It was nothing. You probably would have been fine without me. No, I would have died. I owe you. No! He tries for a smile, but it feels awkward. The stilted ladder escapes him a painful tear. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna just... He waves vaguely over his shoulder. Already backing up. Go! Wait! Bye. Keith turns on his heel and runs, as fast as his aching legs can carry him, and then faster still. He runs until his lungs ache. Sweat pours from his brow, and his knees threaten to give out. He runs through the thorn bushes and ignores the sting of tree branches against his cheeks. He runs until he breaks through the forest and stumbles into the yard of his foster home. Only then he does stop to breathe. Only then he look back. He doesn't see any sign of land, but there's a twisting shiver of dread starting to ooze down his spine, seeping into his bones. When he's 13, through some sort of mangled cross between stupid accident, pure coincidence, and bad luck, Keith ends up having fate indebted to him, and doesn't know what to do about it. Okay, that kind of settles in. So, Keith was 13 years old, and he met Lance on the burning building that the Lotor been taken over, and then Lance was the height of the summer court. And they wanted a deal, and Lotor wants his name laid down so that he doesn't want to be around. Never courted Allura, and that will be a very bad thing. You already met Lotor now. You can see the familiar of it. So, ta-da! You found Lotor. You found the past, like when he was 13. And Lance wanted to owe him a debt that Keith saved Lance from the fire building, and he doesn't know what to do about it. He didn't say thank you, first of all, and that did not make sense. That doesn't even make sense. For a while, Keith was hyper-vigilant. Everywhere he went, he was looking over his shoulder. Every time he heard a faint voice, he flinched. Every time he saw a shimmer of glamour, he hid. He looked paranoid. He looked skittish. But weeks passed without seeing Lance, and Keith was stupid enough to believe that perhaps the Fae had forgotten about him. The first incident happened 3 weeks after he rescued Lance. He's outside, illy and lazily, swinging on an old wooden swing set that his foster family has in the backyard. The house is noisy and full of motion, but he's been cutting back on his walks through the forest, so he sits by himself outside, trying to find some peace. Red Game Boy in his hands. It starts as a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. His magic buzzes in his chest. So at first, building to a low hum, it sends vibration throughout his veins. An unease crawling beneath his skin. Glances away from his Game Boy to find that the hair on his arms is standing on end. He feels like he's being watched. He looks up, twisting on a swing to look out the forest that pushes up against the back of the property. His eyes narrow, searching the shadows, but he can't find anything strange. The wind kicks up, rustling the leaves and tugging at his hair. He shivers, and that's when he realizes it's not just the sensation that makes his body shudder. The air feels colder? Keith! His head whips back around, toward the house, finding his foster mom standing on the back porch, purse thrown over one shoulder. Yeah? He calls back, ignoring the way his heart beats faster at putting his back to the force. We're going to run to the grocery store. Do you want to come? No. Do you need anything? No. Then you can please clean up the little room and do the dishes while we're gone. Everything is a mess. It's not my mess. I know, but we have to pinch in to make the house clean. Please do it before we get home. He huffs as she turns to leave, shoulders slumping as she looks down to save his game. It's never his mess. It's all his foster siblings. They throw things around and leave messes and take the fact that they have a home at all for granted. And no one ever does the dishes. They pile up around in the house for days on end. I hate doing the dishes, he grumbles, getting off the suite. Keith, his name is whispered on the wind, feeling like the gentle brush of fingers on the back of his neck. Nice name. He whispers around. Who's there? He demands. But all that greets him is silence. He stares at the forest, but nothing moves. Then there's a rush of wind, bitter cold, but it doesn't act as wind should. It rushes past him, but seems to curl around him, tugging at his clothes in several directions, moving through his hair like fingers. He shivers violently, and then turns on his heel and runs toward the house. Only once he's crossed the threshold and closed the door behind him does he feel like he can breathe. He looks back through the glass door, but sees nothing. He pulls the curtains closed just in case, turns to face the room. He finds everything gone. The furniture is still there, as are the pictures on the wall and the things that were stacked neatly on the shelves. Everything else, toys on the floor, blankets strewn about, pillows hastily discarded, electronics left down, cups left on side tables, homework left on the kitchen table, it's all just gone. The house looks eerily empty like this. It doesn't look like a home. He rushes to the kitchen to find the sink and counter empty of dishes, which should be a relief, but it isn't. Not when he checks the cabinets and dishwasher, but can't find any of the missing dishes. Half the things in the kitchen, all dirty dishes, are just gone. His breath comes fast as he steadies himself on the counter, eyes wide and head swirling as trying to figure out what happened, what to do. He hears a giggle from outside, a soft laugh from the wind, a voice that sounds strangely familiar. When he rushes back to the window, ripping the curtains away, he catches a glimpse of shimmering glamour in the trees before it's gone. On the glass, written in the frost that's slowly melting, are the words, "Your mess is now gone. You're welcome, Lance." He groans long and loud, closing his eyes as his forehead drops against the glass. He bangs against the door several more times before shouting, "I didn't want this!" He's going to be in so much trouble. Oh, that was a really good story. Oh, that was a really good section. Okay, alright, let's push back down a little bit. It's been weeks since that happened. He did not return his own favor. Well, Lance decided, you know what? Let's give him the favor that he wanted to return. Guess what? All the cabinets, all the counters, everything is just gone, and that's all gone. It's because of Lance. Yep. Lance did all of that. Cleared all that stuff. Well, they're trying to mess around. he wants to get... Lance wants to get Keith's nerves. Get on Keith's nerves. And be the hothead like he is. Yep, that's why he's a hot-headed for a reason. As we all know. The next incident happens with a little warning. He's walking down the street, backpack slung lazily over one shoulder. It's not the first time he skipped class, and it definitely won't be the last. He stops outside Game Shop, looking wistfully through windows at the new displays. He hasn't got an allowance in a long time. His foster family are keeping it to pay off all the things in the house that went missing. They don't believe him when he says he didn't do it, and he can't exactly explain who did to it. He knows better than to tell people about the Fae. So he stopped trying to convince them that he's innocent. Started just taking the punishment. What's a few months without allowance? He'll be fine. Still, he heaves a heavy sigh, putting a hand to the glass. He wishes he had enough for a new game. Why are you so sad? He pulls his hand back as he jumps, clutching his chest and feeling his rapid heartbeat. He whips around to see Lance. He leans back against the brick wall, one foot crossed over the other, arms crossed over his chest. He works one eyebrow, head tilted as he stares right at Keith, lips pursed like he's trying to figure out a puzzle. His glamour is a thin sheen to his tan skin, a shimmer in his chestnut hair, a glow beneath his pretty multifaceted eyes. Now that he looks closer, and the boy isn't burned and wheezing, he realizes he looks about the same age as him, maybe a couple years older. Faye ages are hard to pinpoint, but he looks young. Definitely younger than that other Lotor Faye. He's dressed in weird clothes, far too fancy for a teenager and not even close to being from this decade, or this century. If Keith ignores the shimmering on his cheekbones, you can almost pretend that Lance is just a normal boy. One who has no idea what modern fashion is, and one with pretty eyes. Keith looks away, biting back with snippy retorts. His dad told him he always has to be polite to Faye, even if he doesn't want to. He can't insult them. I'm not, he says. The lie tastes sour in his tongue. You are, Lance says, tilting his head as if to look at Keith from that angle. You're sad. Why? He wants to say that he's sad because he's being punished for something that Lance did. But that will be an insult, wouldn't it? It will make him sound ungrateful or something. Would it expose him as an Iron-Blood? He doesn't know. He doesn't care. He just wants Lance to go away so he can give them the simple answer. I don't have any money. Lance hums, nodding slowly. You want to be able to buy things. Kate shrugs, shoving his hand in his pockets. I guess. He turns on his heel. Already taking a step away. I gotta go. Bye. A couple things happen all at once. An alarm sounds across the street, and he staggers under the sudden weight of his backpack. He turns at the shouting. People running out of the jewelry store across from the game shop. People waving their hands around frantically, practically screaming. Sirens in the distance. Everything is gone, he hears someone say. Just gone. It feels like he can't breathe. His heart is in his throat. He turns slowly to find Lance still standing there, staring at him, grinning, wide and proud. Keith lets his backpack drop to the ground, and it hits heavily, the sound of things clattering inside. His hands are shaking as he crouches down, unzipping it and pulling it open, gasping as he's met with the sight of his backpack, filled with glittering gems and jewelry, gold, silver, diamonds. He picks the necklace up just to make sure it's real. Hey! He snaps his head at the final woman across the street pointing at him. What does the kid have? Does he... He has the jewels! Frick! Keith hisses, dropping the necklace, leaving to his feet. People are staring, starting to jog across the street towards him. He glances and lands, and when they make eye contact, when the face sees his mouth in panic, his grin slowly fades to confusion. Frick. He turns and runs, shoving and weaving through a crowd. People chase him, but he's faster, and when they give up their pursuit before they catch him, besides, he left his backpack behind. He's in so much trouble. I bet he is. God, it was so trouble. I mean, whose fault is it now? Is it Keith's or is it Lance? Great, now whose fault is it? Comment below and tell me whose fault is that one. Is it Keith's or is it Lance? Okay, because who snatched up the backpack? Who's snatching it? It was Keith? So Keith and Lance are in... Oh, Keith is so much trouble. It did happen twice now for this incident. Oh God. That's 2 in a row. 2 in a row. Alright, what's this time? What did Keith do this time? For a while, Keith thinks he's seen the last of Lance. A new foster family, a new home, a new town, a new school. Some quiet attitude, some lack of friends, some awkward tension at home with foster parents who either care too much or too little and don't understand anything that Keith's going through. He spends his lunch break in the biology classroom, alone, glaring at the egg carton labeled with his name. The dirt is just that, dirt. No sprouts, no green buds, no sign of life. All of his class's projects are already sprouting, growing all leafy stalks, but this won't grow. He tells himself that he's here to try and salvage his biology grade, and not because there's a group of bullies out scouring the courtyard for him. He holds out a hand toward his carton, palm facing it. He closes his eyes, reaching into that core of magic deep inside him. He keeps it wrapped up in the tightly bundled knots. At his gentle prodding, he feels it starts to loosen. He feels the wave's energy start to pulse through him. Tries to focus it toward his palm. He's always been afraid of his magic. His dad warned him not to use it, said that it would give him away as an Iron Blood. The fear in his dad's eyes was enough to keep a tight leash on his magic. His mother was never around to teach him. Now his dad isn't either. But the fact remains that he is part Fae, and Fae are creatures of nature. Maybe he has some, like, plant magic or whatever. It's worth a shot. Heat builds in his chest. It burns, but it doesn't hurt. The surge power through his veins feels like pinpricks. It ships beneath his skin, foreign and strange. It hurts, but it doesn't. There's pain, but it doesn't shy away from it. His form stings, burns, white hot where his birthmark is. A dark patch of skin in the shape of a symbol he doesn't understand. It builds, builds, builds. And then the sensation shoots toward his palm like magma. Needles itching and pressing from beneath his palm, pushing outward. He gasps, eyes shouldn't open, fear spiking. He watches as a blade emerges from his palm. He's terrified. He's scared. Panic claws at his lungs. But he doesn't pull back, doesn't shy away from it, keeps pushing forward. The blade glows white and burns like molten metal when it's all the way out. He instantly grabs the handle, and the glow fades, leaves a long, wicked-looking dagger, sharper than steel, silver and purple, a glowing gemstone in the hilt that bears the same symbol as his birthmark. Whoa! He breathes, eyes wide, turning the table over his hand. Holy sh! It feels right in his hand, perfectly fits in his grip. Not at all what he was expecting, but he's not going to complain. A knife just came out of his hand. How cool is that? Where did he go? Keith's eyes widen, head snapping up. Reflexively, he lets go of the dagger, and all at once, it glows white again, sucking back into his palm and disappearing. Frick, he hisses, clutching his hand to his chest and rubbing the palm with his other thumb. There's not a mark on his skin, no sign it was ever there, but it hurts where it was suddenly yanked back into his palm. It burns and stings like lemon juice in a fresh gash. There's a prickling ache beneath his birthmark. There you are! He feels cold breeze drift across the back of his neck. He summons. He knows that voice. He never thought he heard that voice again. He was round, right hand still cradled to his chest, and he gapes across the room. Stands in the open doorway, hands on his hips, looking right at Keith with narrowed eyes and pursed lips. Keith opens his mouth to speak, only for the words to catch in his throat, because the shimmer that usually accompanies Lance is thicker, brighter, nearly blinding as it chips over him like a veil. It completely glamored, hidden for the mortal eyes completely. If Keith were human, he wouldn't be able to see them at all. So he fixes his gaze, snapping his eyes to peer just over Lance's shoulder, and starts over his words as he forces Is someone there? Elaine saved, but a save nonetheless. Pretend he heard a sound. Pretend like he can't see the face standing right there. Perfectly normal human behavior. Lance's eyes narrow, expression pinching for a moment before it clears, before he smiles, bright and broad, straightening with a short laugh. For a second there, I thought you could see me. There's relief in his voice. It spikes fear in Kate's veins. What will happen to him if Lance knew he was an Ironblood? He doesn't want to find out. After a brief pause, Kate whips back around, grabbing his backpack and throwing it over his shoulder. He casts one last forlorn look at his failed plant experiment. He may have a cool knife, but plant powers would have really come in handy. Whatever, he grumbles. I'll take the F. He stumps toward the doorway, feeling like each step is a little too stiff. Holds his breath, making a straight shot in the hope that the Lance will move out of the way. He does, moving into the room, and Keith breathes a small sigh of relief. Then he feels a cold rush of air at his back, nearly making him stumble in surprise. He whips his head around, mouth falling open, grabbing the doorway for support as his knees threaten to give out. Lance stands in the middle of the room, wiping his hands off, grinning each ear. That should do it. And Keith's egg carton? It's overrun. Not only have his seeds sprouted, but they've grown far larger than they should. Thick, blossoming vines that soar from the small patch of dirt and fall across all of his classmates' branches, knocking them to the floor, spilling their dirt, crushing their plants. It looks like a jungle just sprouted from Keith's project and crushed everyone else's in the process. No! He groans, head falling forward and against the hand still resting on the doorframe. It looks like he smashed up everyone else's stuff and planted random plants instead. His teacher is going to think he did this. Everyone is going to think he did this. He pulls back, letting his head drop against the metal of the frame. God! He does it again. Damn it! Why is he always so ungrateful? He hears Lance mutter, and he grits his teeth before spinning on his heel and marching away. Like hell he's going to be here when his teacher comes back. Oh my god. Not school. Not on his school. He was in the biology class and he almost failed because his plants are not growing. And Lance comes over and all of a sudden, I mean he's trying to help Lance, but I think it's taking it too far and his plants are destroying everything. It grows all over the place and now oh god, oh my god, this is, no, why Lance? And it's now Keen, and now I realize it's Lance. Oh my god, Lance made a lot of himself problem, and now Keith's a little trouble for all of it. I don't know why, but Keith's a little more trouble than that. Because of Lance! I mean, he really wants to return the favor, did he? He really wants to do that. Jeez. Okay. Before I go to lose my mind right now. Another foster family. Another move with his precious few possessions in one ratty old suitcase and a large garbage bag. Another couple months. He sees Faye, but he avoids them like a plague. Actually, he avoids pretty much everyone. Not that anyone tries to get close. He's just the weird new kid. The kid with old clothes. The kid who always scowls. The kid without parents. The kid who randomly gets stiff and walks away without explanation. He can't exactly explain Faye to them. He would rather they think he's rude and crazy. He never realized how nice it was to have someone in his life who understood it, and now he has no one. Hates to admit it, and in the fact he won't if anyone asks because it's stupid. Not that anyone would ask anyway because no one knows about Faye, but Keith has been keeping an eye out for Lance. At first he told himself that it was just because the kid has been ruining everything from the moment he crashed into Keith's life, and it started to keep an eye out for that bundle of chaos. But as longer goes on without seeing him, the more Keith feels like he might maybe sort of miss him. It's stupid. He's stupid. He shouldn't be missing a Faye, especially one he doesn't really even know. But it's just, he's the only one who's really paid attention to Keith in the past half a year. The only one who listens to what he wants and to what he says. Yeah, so he always interoperates it wrong, but he tries, which is stupid. He's getting sentimental over a boy who's obligated to try to pay Keith back because he thinks he owes Keith. All that Faye stuff with deals is not because he likes Keith or anything. Stupid. Stupid, he mumbles, sitting at the kitchen table, hunched forward to rest his chin on his arms, fiddling with a pencil in one hand, glaring at the spread of math homework in front of him. Keith, we don't use that word, his foster mom says, stern and clipped. As always, the other two foster kids glance over him, curious and worried, warning him with their eyes. He glanced at them. I don't understand why we had to do our homework at the table. We've been over this. This way I can make sure you get your work done in a timely manner, and it promotes family bonding. We're not a family. Keith? He hates that voice, stern and demanding, clipped and cold. She sounds almost surprised, incredulous, shocked that a kid who's only been here for a few weeks couldn't consider her family. A real family would buy me honey. You do not need honey. It's a sweetener, and none of you need sugar. It's bad for your health. I like honey. Honestly, he doesn't know why he's so hung up on the honey thing. He does like honey. Like, a lot. His dad used to say it's part of his fairy genetics. Still, couldn't live without it. He's just tired of all these rules. And once he bought his own thing of honey, and she threw it away. It's so stupid. This house is stupid. It's just honey. A brush of a cool breeze. Moment outside the window catches his eye, and glances over. Freezes when he sees Lance. his shimmering covered in a translucent veil of colorless glamour that conceals him from mortal eyes, so Keith doesn't stare. He moves his eyes past the window, as if just letting his gaze roam the kitchen. That's believable, right? Lance presses against the window, hands cupped to his glass as he peers in. Through the cracked screen, you can hear the boy mutter, "Aha! There you are! Finally!" That's when Keith gets an idea. A wicked idea. A mischievous idea. His lips twitch at the edges, curling to a small spark. Is it a great idea? No. Is he willing to give it a try just to see what happens? Yes. His dad always said that he had a playful face eye. In moments like this, he thinks he might have been right. He turns back to his foster mom slowly. Something must show on his face because she frowns, brows pinching, breezily, casually, loud enough for Lance to hear it outside of their home. He says, "I really wish I had unlimited honey." No one at the table says anything for a long moment. None of them are really sure what to make of that. Finally, his foster mom clears her throat, saying sternly, "Well, we can't always have what we want." He feels a rush of a cold breeze. Knows it's not just him because he watches the others shiver too. "What was that?" one of his foster siblings asks. "Did you hear that?" asked the other. It takes Keith a moment to hear it. A low hum, buzzing. The sound of hundreds of tiny bodies hitting a window. He jumps up from his chair, rushing to the back door. He can see them. Bees. So many of them. A swarm. Throwing themselves against a glass door in an attempt to get in. Without thinking, he throws the door open, stepping back as the dark swarm rushes in, loud and angry. A laugh bubbles out of him as he hears his foster mom scream, as he hears their panic shouts. He hears them running, hears the front door thrown open on the other side of his house. Keith slips out the back door, shutting it shut behind him. He shoves his hands to his pockets, turning on his heel to stride away. When he reaches the back fence, he pulls himself up, pausing as he sits atop and glancing back at the house. In his peripheral vision, he can see Lance stand nearby, hands on his hips, lips stretched wide, proud as he beams at Keith, still glamour. Keith smirks, unvoiced laughter bubbling in his chest. He feels light, lighter than he has in weeks. "Not what I meant, not what I wanted," he says aloud. Smiles making louder when he sees Lance fall. When he sees Lance pout, he drops on the other side of the fence before Lance can see him grin. He's stupid. He should have just accepted that as a payment or whatever. But if he had, when Lance would no longer owe him, and Lance would leave him alone for good. That's what he should want. He's surprised to find that he doesn't. He kinda likes Lance hanging around. At least there's never a dull day when he shows up. He's stupid. Stupid. This is just a very, very special. We've been going house, new foster home, and then Lance just messes all the thing around for Keith. And it happened like 3 times already. Gosh, what happened to Lance? Is Keith not apologizing to him? He didn't say thank you? That's what happens. That's exactly what happens when he's not like, "Thank you for saving me." He said, "No, bye." And all of a sudden, whoops. We've got a little bit of an accident right now because if you can't say thank you to Lance, if Keith doesn't say thank you to Lance, Lance should have to return him a favor. Something bad. Something really, really bad. And I literally hate it. Something isn't right. Keith kinda likes this new foster home. They're nice enough. They don't push him too hard. They give him space when he needs it. They take care of him. They don't talk to him like he's an idiot. Everything seems like it's going great. Until suddenly it isn't. It all started the night they came home to find their house had been broken into. The window was smashed, glass everywhere, electronics and jewelry were missing, the house was ransacked. That night, they spoke with the police. Keith thought he felt the temperature drop, shivering as he pulled his blanket closer around his shoulders. He didn't see Lance, though, so he blamed it on the open doors. But strange things have been happening ever since. "Are you sure a package didn't arrive today?" his foster dad says one night. "It was supposed to be delivered days ago. In fact, none of our packages are arriving. I need to have a word with the post office. I was supposed to host my book club last night, but no one showed up," his foster mom says a couple days later. "That strange thing is that they all said they forgot. We do this every Tuesday. How can they forget? It gets weirder still when Keith invites a few people into his house to work on their group project. They're supposed to do some kind of short film for class, and he offers his house because they have the biggest backyard. He doesn't consider them friends, but it's the closest thing he's had since his childhood. He was actually looking forward to it, until they didn't show. They didn't finish their project without him, and he failed for not participating. And when he asked why they didn't show up at his house, they looked confused. They said they were going to, but just forgot. Decided to go somewhere else. It's weird. Too weird to be normal. Which is why one day, while his foster parents are at work, he sits by the front window and waits. Waits for hours before the mailman arrives. Watches the man get out of his car with a package and start to walk toward the house. Watches him take one step down their driveway and freeze. Watches his eyes go wide and blank. Jaw gone slack. They turn and walk slowly back toward his car. Kid grits his teeth, slamming a fist down the windowsill. That's not normal. That's Faye. He has to wait a couple more days, hang out in the backyard like bait, before he feels that telltale icy breeze. He shivers himself, leaping to his feet and he stumbles to the center of the yard. Lance! He shouts, turning his social circle. I know you're here. Show yourself. Don't need to shout, pretty boy. I'm right here. He spins around, but doesn't see. Up here. He tilts his head back, eyes narrow on Lance, sitting on the edge of the roof, feet dangling, idly swinging. His hands rest on the edge on either side of his thighs and leans forward, gazing down at Keith with that infuriating smirk. There you go, he says with amusement. So, we meet again. Get down here. Keith grits out, crosses his arms over his chest and scowling up at the boy. Lance smiled face, confusion person as lips frowns. You sure are demanding. His smirk comes back easily as he leaps down, gracefully landing in a crouch before standing and sauntering over to Keith. He stops in front of him, head cocked to the side as he lifts a finger to press it beneath Keith's chin, lifting his head. It's a little rude, but I'll forgive you, especially since you don't know who you're dealing with. Anger bubbles at him, heat flaring in his chest. He focuses on that rather than the warmth itching up the back of his neck. I know exactly what you're dealing with, he growls, slapping Lance's hand away. The Fae looks taken aback, eyes running as his lips part. His eyes swirl, glaring like gemstones as they sharpen, searching Keith's face. They narrow, brows pinching. Phew. He crosses his arms and lifts his chin, standing his ground. He refuses to look away, refuses to step back. He knows it's stupid, reckless, to stand out to a Fae like this. But he needs this fixed. And if he's honest, Lance doesn't scare him, not like other Fae he sees. Whenever Lance is around, his body reacts to it. His hair stands on end, and his instincts go haywire, just like any other Fae, but he doesn't feel scared. It's weird. Lance is weird, and it's giving him a foolish amount of bravery, causing him to recklessly do things he shouldn't. I know exactly what you are, he steps, stepping forward into Lance's space, jabbing a finger into his chest and forcing him to summon back. And I don't know what you did to my house, but I need you to undo it. Undo it. Lance sputters, shock suddenly morphing into anger. He slaps Keith's hand away, pushing back into his space as he throws his own hands up in the air. I'm protecting you. You're keeping people from coming near the house. Yeah, and that's protecting you. If no one can get near your house, no one can break in or hurt you. It's flawless. It's stupid. We can't let it like this. Undo it. They're closed, hands practically butting, both of them scowling and fuming. Despite the cold air that always announces him, Lance radiates heat. It's surprising. It's more surprising that Keith is not to notice, and that he's more focused on that. And the way the shimmering glamour on his cheekbones reflects in his eyes. Lance groaned long and loud, spinning on his heel and stumbling away, running his fingers through his hair and pulling at the roots. You're so frustrating. Why won't you accept any of my gifts? I'm trying to repay my debt. I told you that you don't owe me anything. It doesn't work like that. Lance spins back around, pointing an accusing finger at Keith. I don't just owe you a debt. I owe you a life debt. It's a big deal. Yeah, well, I don't want it. You can't just decide not to want it. You already have it. I need to repay it. Just accept one of my gifts. No, all your gifts suck. He sputtered, his face red and contorting. You suck! Keith feels his lips squirt into a small smirk. Despite himself, he can feel the bubble of amusement welling on his chest. Nice comeback. Aren't they supposed to be silver-tongued? Lance opened his mouth, no doubt with a sharp retort on his tongue, but his voice dies. He watches his eyes widen, body freezing. You, he breathes, deadly still. You know, I'm Faye. Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I know you put stupid Faye magic on my house, and I want you to remove it. My magic isn't stupid. He hops, turning on his heel. I don't need this. I'm out of here. The cloud wraps around him, thick and shiny, contorting the air around him, making him shimmer like a mirage. It hides him from human eyes, but not from Keith. Lance only gets a few hurried stumps away before Keith calls out, I can still see you. Lance freezes, turns slowly, eyes wide. And fearful? Looks scared? Scared of Keith? You can't? Yes, now fix my house. Lance swallows thickly. He turns slowly, backing away from Keith as one bites a wild animal. He looks on edge, wary, terrified. He frowns at him, but that only seems to make Lance flinch. You're an Ironblood. It's not a question, and Keith doesn't answer it like one. Fine. I'll undo it, Lance says, straightening, lifting his chin, trying to piece together a shabby illusion of confidence, but Keith can see him shaking. It's weird. He snaps his fingers, and the cold rush of air sweeps past him. The wind is violent, nearly knocking him off his feet. He stumbles, throwing his arms up to shield his face from the onslaught of dust. His hair whips around, stinging his cheeks. When the wind dies down and it opens up, his eyes once more, Lance is gone. It's weird. Okay, we got another thing going on right now. It's going crazy. People are going crazy for this, and Keith is just... I don't know what happened. Lance is trying to repay him. Trying to... Oh! Damn, people are loud now sometimes. As I was saying, Lance is trying to keep to repay all of this, and now everything's nice. People are just coming in to visit because he's trying to protect him. And Keith doesn't want any of his gifts. Okay? He just wants to live his own life without him. And that's the problem. He is stupid enough to know it. He is stupid. He's literally a stupid half Ironblood. Well, just Ironblood. He's a stupid Ironblood. That's all I could say. Okay? That is all I could say. He doesn't see Lance for a long time, but that doesn't mean he's forgotten. His dreams are haunted by that last look of terror, and by the light-hearted giggle that drips on a cool breeze. He's getting better at drawing. His newest foster parents got him a sketchbook from his 14th birthday. He likes to sit in place and draw strangers. He thinks he's getting pretty good at it. He draws Lance the most, but it never looks right coming from his memory. He tears out those pages and burns them. Then another thing he discovered, fire. His magic lends itself towards flames and heat. And also blood? He doesn't really understand that one yet. It's not like he has anyone to ask. He stubbornly refuses to admit that he misses Lance. But he knows. He does. Lance finds him one day at a local park. He's sitting against a tree, knees pulled up with his sketchbook propped against them. Illy drawn a woman sitting on a bench not too far away. When a shadow falls over him, the temperature dropping enough to make him shiver. He looks up, a scowl pinching his features and a sharp comment on his tongue, only to have the breath rush from his lungs. You're back. He's exactly as Keith remembers him, tall and proud. He stands over him with his hands on his hips, chin lifted as if daring Keith to try something? He's not sure. He's too busy trailing his eyes over the curve of his pursed lips, trying to memorize the dip of his cupid bow, wondering how he could have forgotten the slope of his nose or the sharp lines of his jaw. His features are just a fraction too sharp to be human, but far closer than a lot of the Fae Keith has seen. That means he's a high Fae, right? The most powerful ones are always the ones who look the most human. It's deceptive, but that's in their nature. Keith's gaze lingers on the minuscule diamond shimmer of glamour on his skin, at the collection of them high on his cheekbones and ears. wondering what they hide. Are his ears pointy? He finds himself hoping they are. And what about his hair? The chestnut locks are practically infused with the shimmering sheen of glamour, catching the light every time the strands sway in the breeze. And those eyes, in all his attempts to draw Lance from memory, he's never been able to get the eyes right. Looking at him now, he's not sure he ever will. There's a depth to them, a fractal in its irises, a storm and sea that Keith doesn't think he'll ever be good enough to capture. Lance is pretty for Faye. That's another thing. Keith has learned that he likes pretty boys. It's a recent realization that makes facing Lance now a little more difficult. Of course I am, he says, cocking a hip out to the side. He still dresses like he's never heard of modern fashion. Though, if he's a court fay, then Keith suppose he hasn't. It works on him, though. I still owe you, and I need to settle this before anyone finds out. Looking at him for too long feels like staring into the sun. Keith looks down, flipping his sketchbook to a new page, and putting pencil to paper. Why? There's a light scoof from above. Because my mother would lock me away, and the court would mock me mercilessly and probably come after you. His voice trails off into a mumble, then a pause. His feet shift in Keith's peripheral vision, and hears Lance clear his throat, voice confident again, boisterous, full of false bravado. All right, Ironblood, what do you want from me? Something itches beneath Keith's skin, a warm, bubbling heat. It crawls out the back of his neck and awakens butterflies in his chest. Is Lance protecting him, keeping his heritage a secret? He was told that Faye will kill him if they found out. He lifts his head, looking away from the beginnings of his sketch. He frowns, brows furrowing as he tilts his head. Why are you afraid of me? Lance purses his lips tight for a moment, expression looking sour. For a court fay, he's not very good at concealing his emotions. Ironbloods are dangerous, he says stiffly. They are dangerous. Keith fires back. He meets Lance's stormy eyes, suddenly refusing to look away, unblinking, unafraid. Lance, despite all his chaos, has never given him reason to be afraid. Lance says his jaw, lips pursed and eyes narrow, but says nothing. Their staring contest continues without a word. Both know they're right. Both know the others is right too. Neither has anything to say. Finally, Lance sighs. Shifting his weight and crosses his over his chest, he looks away. Look, just accept the debt is paid and all this can be over. If you're that desperate to pay your debt, why don't you just say it's been paid? Keith challenges, lifting his chin a fraction higher. Lance glares at him. It doesn't work like that. Yes, it does. You've done several things to pay me back. Even if I didn't want them, you could have just said that the debt was paid. That's what Fae do. They twist up meanings to fit what they want. You could have called us, even after you cleaned my house, by making everything disappear. But you didn't. Lance scoops, rolling his eyes, refusing to make eye contact. Look at you, all caught up on fair laws and politics, he mumbles. Keith smirks. My dad taught me a lot. Keith glances at him. Why not have a race? Was he Faye? No. Keith frowns, looking back down at his sketchbook, lightly drawing the lines Lance's cupid bow. That was my mom. I never knew her. Oh. So why don't you call us even? Lance doesn't answer. In his silence, realization dawns on him. Slow and steady, sunrise always chases away from the gray darkness and feeling understanding color. He looks up, pencil still, lips parted and says softly, You don't want to. That's ridiculous, Lance says, scooping and laughing, but it's far too loud, far too hollow. Why would a high fate of the summer court want to be indebted to anyone? Kay recognizes it as the redirect that it is. His dad always warned him of this. The Fae can't lie, so they talk around what they cannot say. I don't know, Key says calmly, lips switching upward as he lifts a brow. Why don't you tell me? No Fae likes being in debt, yet you refuse to call us even. Why won't you just tell me what you want? Why won't you just tell me why you're still here? Lance hops, dropping into the crouch in front of Key. He balances on the balls of his feet, arms crossed over his chest as he stares at Key, now on eye level, lips twisted into a frown. He says, You're stubborn. Key can't hold his smirk back. So are you. You're reckless, challenging the Fae like this. You're reckless, hanging out with an Ironblood. We're not hanging out. Lance shows his hunch, pulling up into his ears as he pouts. Pouts with a pursed bottom lip and everything. It's cute. Very cute. He does weird things to Keith's insides. He looks down, heart's unable to handle staring at him for too long. He moves the pencil tip across the paper, eager to capture at least the outline of Lance's likeness before he disappears again, finding comfort in the drag of graphite and a light scratch against the paper. I don't want anything, he mumbles. Lance helps, whole body slumping dramatically in Keith's peripheral vision. Keith, you have to want something. Nope. Come on. What you want? Just tell me. Keith, Keith, Keith. He stares jamming Keith's knee with a finger, going bolder until he's grabbing Keith's leg, and shaking him with every repetition of his name. Keith kicks out against him, but it's half-hearted, and Lance easily bats his foot away. He glares, lips first, and Lance meets it head-on. Finally, Keith sighs, massaging against the tree. You can't give me what I want. Try me. He doesn't know why it slips out. He doesn't know how he let this boy, this Faye, slip him past his defenses enough to say it. He blames it on being exhausted, not just with Lance, but with everyone, with everything. Life is exhausting and lonely. France, he says softly, and immediately regrets it. Immediately wishes he could swallow that word back down and never let it see the light of day. He can feel Lance's eyes on him, heavy and sharp. His chest feels far too exposed. He doesn't like it. Okay, Lance says, and Keith looks up, blinking in confusion. What? I said okay. Lance sits up straighter, lifting his chin and holding out a hand. There is a smirk on his lips, even if his eyes look uncertain. It's a deal. I'll be your friend. Keith's heart hammers against his ribs, torn and raw, something burning and fluttering and feeling foreign. No, he says, watching as Lance's hand droops and his expression fades. Keith shakes his hand, jaw sits suddenly. I don't want you to be my friend because of a deal. That's not real. It's not the same if you're just doing it because you have to. That will make him no different than Keith's classmates, than his foster families, than all the people who are just nice because he's the poor orphan kid. Okay, Lance says slowly, nodding, expression pensive as he's lost in thought. Then he sits down in front of Keith, cross-legged, arms crossed over his chest, and he grins. He grins so wide and bright and sudden that it takes Keith's breath away. Then I'll be your friend for real. What? It's perfect. I'll be your friend, and I can figure out what you really want so I can pay back my debt. It's flawless. But I'm an Ironblood, Keith says, cutting his head to his side, eyes narrowing. Don't hate fate, Ironbloods? Usually, yes, but I like you, he says, sheepishly. This person as he glances away, voice unusually soft. I like being here. I've never been allowed to visit the moral realm, and I hate being at court. Being here it's fun. And as long as I'm indebted to you, if we're friends, then I have a reason to be here. So, he glances back at Keith, strangely sheepish, strangely shy, voice quiet as he asks, friends? Yeah, Keith breathes, feeling himself choking on the wings of butterflies, and a prickle of heat creeping up his cheeks. He smiles, and it feels foreign, but also feels right. Friends. When he's 14, Keith and Lance become friends. Wow, it's a really good story now. They met each other, and now they're become friends. Keith and Lance. As long as they're Lance indebted and coming back and paying him a visit, that'll probably make up some time. But hey, it's a really good story so far. Alright, here comes the ninth one. Keith holds the camera up to his face, peering through the scope and focusing on the collapsed building in front of him. He never thought he'd come back here, but now that him and Lance are friends, he kinda wants to document where they first met. Luckily, his foster family lives close to this place. Lance isn't as happy about being here, but he hadn't said no. He had just complained the whole way, grumbling as he trudged along behind Keith. And now, as Keith moves forward into the clearing to get a good shot of the building, Lance stays at the tree line, So let me get this straight, Keith says, moving to get a better angle on the collapse part. This low-tour guy who isn't even really part of your course tried to kill you, and yet no one is mad about it? Said you're Laura's best friend, and she doesn't even care? She cares, Lance stresses, as explained to a child. Overall, Keith thinks he's being too casual about the situation. There's just nothing she can do about it. Lotor is the Winter Prince. Keith lowers his camera, turning to give Lance a flat look. He tried to kill you. Lance sits next to a tree, leaning against the trunk. He helps, waving Keith off with one hand. He didn't do it directly. He literally can't. It's part of our laws. Unless I slight him or insult him, he can't harm me. He's literally lured you into a building filled with rusty iron and made it collapse on top of you. And he gave me a choice. He would gladly help me if I had promised him a favor, or agreed to stay away from Laura, or give him my name. But I know better than to be in his debt, rather than iron bloods than his. He's a snake. I still understand how no one is making a big deal about this. Key mumbles, as he turns back around, lifting his camera once more. You told Laura about it, right? Of course I did. But she can't really do anything besides be wary of him. It's not really a big deal. This is what they do. It's what courts do. Everyone is trying to get more power, and they get it by tricking others into debt. They do it by tearing down those above them. It's all trickery and schemes, fake smiles and hollow words. I hate it. Keith presses the button, and the camera flashes. He lowers it as the picture is printed out, plucking it out and waving it in the air as he walks back to Lance. If you hate it so much, why don't you leave? Lance's smile doesn't reach his eyes. It's not that easy. I promised to watch Alora's back in that snake pit, and my position in court has risen my family into higher standings. I can't just leave. He shrugs, glancing away, gaze lost and distant as he says softer. That's why I like hanging out with you. You're genuine. You have the ability to lie, but you don't. You're blunt and honest, and I feel like I know where I stand with you. Warm blooms in Keith's chest, unbidden and unwanted. Even though I'm an iron blood? Lance glances at him sidelong, a smirk curling at the corner of his lips. Yeah, even then. Make things kinda dangerous, you know? It's exciting. Keith snorts, rolling his eyes. Sure. And then, to avoid the topic that's giving him advice, he holds up the developing picture for Lance to see. This is what I meant when I said it printed pictures instantly. Lance blinks, eyes focusing on the picture, brows furrowing pensively. It's so dark. It's still developing. Give it a minute. Lance gingerly takes the picture from Keith, turning it over in hands as he watches the image form. His lips are parted in awe, eyes filled with childlike wonder. This is incredible. So humans have devices that can capture images this easily? Yeah, there are better ones. But this one is called a Polaroid camera. It makes those instant pictures. It's kind of outdated, but my dad had one. I still have old Polaroid pictures of my room. I guess there's just something about them that's just made me feel closer to them. He stares at the camera in his hands, filling it with it as he mumbles, ignoring the heat that rises to his cheeks. That sounds real nice, Keith, Lance says, all that's self-enjoying and startlingly fond. It does nothing to help the flush taking to Keith's face. Hey, can I take a picture? Sure. He pulls the strap over his neck, holding the camera out. You just look through here and press the button. Lance takes it, holding it to his face and peering through the lens. After a moment, however, he lowers it, stepping next to Keith. So, it takes a picture of whatever this lens is pointing at? Yeah. Perfect. He sinks an arm over Keith's shoulder, pulling him flush against his side as he holds the camera up at arm's length, pointing the lens at them. There's a flashlight before he can protest, and the lens stepping away, shoving the camera back into his hands as he fans the new Polaroid in his hands. Hey, Keith frowns, blinking away the spotlight says, Give me that! No, Lance laughs, dancing away with Keith transparent. It's our first picture together. You didn't even warn me. I probably look stupid. You always look stupid. Keith chased Lance through the forest. He's fast, but Lance is nimble, and he moves through the forest like he was born for it, which, in a lot of ways, Keith supposes that he was. He laughs in the wind, and after a while, even he can't keep up a scowl, finding solace in the fact that Lance can't see him smile. When Lance stops abruptly, Keith runs into his back. "What's wrong?" he asks when Lance doesn't move. "I didn't do it right," Lance mutters, sounding sad, dejected, pitiful in ways that makes Keith's chest hurt. He peers over Lance's shoulder at the picture in his hands. There's a glaring white spot distorting most of Lance's face. He's not sure if it was Lance, the camera, a problem with the development process, or Lance's glamour that ruined the picture. He feels strangely disappointed. He would have liked to have a picture of Lance. "We'll take a better one later," he says, butterflies erupting in his stomach when Lance turns to look at him. He's close enough that he can feel the heat radiating from him. He can't bring himself to meet his gaze. Not this close. He can't handle that bright grin this close. "Really?" Lance breathes. Keith just purses his lips and nods, stepping away and heading back into the forest, lifting the camera once more to his face to hide his blush. Wow, I realized that they took a picture, and you saw that picture before from the previous chapter, right? It's pretty amazing. When I read these past things here, they give you some of the artifacts that you have listened and you listed. It happened to here, and it's all things that they have remembered through all of it. He doesn't see Lance often, at least not as often as he would like. He comes and goes with a little warning, appearing one day on a cool breeze, all smiles and shining eyes. He'll stay for a day, maybe a few, sometimes a week, and then one day he lifts his head, turning as if listening, eyes distant, and he'll announce he has to leave. He never knows when he'll be back again. He says the court is too unpredictable for that. He sneaks away as often as he can, but time is different between realms. It's hard to calculate, but he always promised that he will, eventually, be back, and that's the hope that he clings to. And in the moments in between, in the moments where loneliness feels crushing, in the moments where boredom is heavy, in the moments where his heart aches with the echoed memory of a laugh like silver bells in his mouth that makes his stomach tie itself in knots. He isn't sure how Lance always manages to find him, no matter where he is, what the city he's in, or what the family he's staying with, but he always does. He stays with Keith, using his glamour to hide from Keith's foster families. Keith shows him human things, teaches him stuff about the human world, and Lance is endlessly fascinated by it. Says he was never allowed in the moral realm for some reason. Says his family would drag him back and kicking and screaming if they knew he was spending time with Keith. He doesn't seem to care. It doesn't take Keith long to realize that their friendship isn't just beneficial to him. He gets a friend who actually understands him, who knows about face stuff, and understands all the weird stuff Keith sees. He gets a friend who doesn't think he's strange or crazy, someone who doesn't judge him, someone Keith feels like he can't be himself around, can explore his magic with, someone who actually seems to enjoy his company. And Lance? Lance gets a place away from the court to relax, a place away from the prying, selfish, cunning eyes of the Fae, a place where he doesn't have to watch his words or his actions, where he doesn't have to second guess every little thing, picking apart everything for a hidden meaning. He can just be himself. He never realized that was a luxury that a few Fae can afford. He thinks this friendship works well for them. He thinks they bring out the best in each other. He definitely knows being with Lance makes him happy. He's not sure about all these other budding feelings that he's desperately trying to keep from blooming. But he'll work on that. Okay, well, I will stop there, and that will be the end of part 1. So yeah, Lance is going back to the courts, doing all his duties and stuff. And now, it's just very different things now. He really misses Lance a lot. From the friendship they have started with, and from the way they met, I mean, it definitely makes sense now what's happening in the past. But we'll have more to that in the next video. I will continue more on this one for the second part. Okay? I'll see you in part 2. Whatever the part 2 comes out. Okay. Bye, everyone.